It's now time for Party Chat Sports.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
What's up, Party Chat Sports? Welcome back to the channel. Drew Nelson, Caleb Gill here for you tonight. As we're getting to the time of year where you won't see as many of us at the same time. There's going to be a lot more individual pods, but Drew and I tonight, with the NFL Scouting Combine getting underway, wanted to talk about some of the players that we're watching. So what we're going to do is 2 offensive guys that we're looking out for, 2 defensive guys that we're looking out and excited to watch and see what they do at the Combine, because the Combine, there's only so much you can do. Drew and I were talking before we hopped on the pod. For quarterbacks, you can tank your stock more than you can actually boost your stock at the Combine. So it'll be interesting to see kind of who all participates in the different drills, and this is a fun weekend because or fun week because it really means we're full swing into draft season.
Yeah, it's funny because each year the Combine rolls around, and it probably, maybe it's the lack of, football's done and over with, so this is the best that we get until the season starts and, the end of the year, towards the end of the year. And so we see this every year. The Combine probably sways people a little bit too much, a little bit more than it should. I think people just get so excited. They see these crazy
There's something going on. For them to
like Matthew Golden running that 40 time last year. There's been plenty of freaks that show out on the Combine, and what do they call it? The Underwear Olympics.
Yep.
And boost their draft stock for better or for worse. And again, there's a lot of. With that being said, there are a lot of players from smaller schools or just not as good of teams or things like that got invited to the Combine, and they have the opportunity to show, the tools that they have that may have not been showcased throughout the season. So it is, in the same breath, a good opportunity for a lot of players. Obviously, your top players, some of them choose not to show out and compete, and the others, some of the guys towards the bottom of the invite list, they have everything to gain. If they have a good Combine, they could go from undrafted free agent to, a fourth round pick or something like that. So there's plenty of opportunity. But yeah, we see it every year. There will be someone who tests like a freak who
they'll have like a 9 out of 10 on the athlete scale or athlete chart.
The RAS or whatever it's. Yeah,
something like that.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
And really, the Combine for NFL teams, they're looking at the stuff that we're watching, like us fans, us observers are looking at, but it's what's going on behind the scenes that tends to matter the most, the interviews. I mean, I love watching the clips of, like, Giants offseason Hard Knocks a couple years ago when they were going through and talking to Jaden Daniels, and, like, that stuff was cool. But that's also what a lot of these teams are really doing. It's like, all right, let's get you on the drawing board. If I do this, we're going to walk. It's a job interview that has some field testing as well, essentially.
Yeah, the interview is important. I don't know this to be true. I would imagine it's probably more important for quarterbacks. It's important for other positions as well.
Definitely mean.
I think probably linebacker, it would be important.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the position, because linebackers play caller of the defense, so that's important.
Yeah.
Offensive line, probably. I was thinking earlier before we started, is there really anything an offensive lineman can do at the Combine to improve their stock? I mean, they're not really. Bench is the only one that I could think of.
Because
other
like
than that,
even
though,
like some guards, it's like, all right, cool, you ran a fast 40.
What's the shuttle? the three cone,
three cone
or whatever. That one,
because you want to see.
I know
and,
people
like,
look at.
and like the
quick
40,
feet.
for as much as people like glamorize the 40, there's so many drills that translate better to
Yeah.
NFL, like the three cone, like some of that stuff, because it's the quick feed and it's how your hips
Yeah.
move. And
Yeah, the 40 is like 40 will show you if there's like a freak athlete.
yeah, that's just
But
straight
being a
line
freak
speed.
athlete doesn't make you a good offensive lineman necessarily.
Yep.
So
Think of all the guys that have had those fast 40s, like John Ross. If I'm going to pull up right now, fastest 40 yard times.
well, it was Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy holds it. He's got 4.21. John Ross, he was a first round draft pick because of his 40 with a 4.22. Kalen Barnes, 4.23 in 2022. CJ 2K, and then Rondell Menendez. He was a wide receiver 99. Dree Archer
Wow.
back in 2014 had a 4.26. But like
Madden
of
Mobile
these,
legend.
yeah. But it's cool when they run fast, but it doesn't translate.
Yeah, unless you're CJ2K. But
And his only translated for a minute.
yeah.
He was dope though.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool. And like theoretically, if you could find one of these super fast guys that was also good at football, they would be dominant.
Well, it's like the Chuck strategy in Madden. Just go for everybody that's 99 and just look at their speed and then figure it out.
Yeah, that was Texas State too in college football.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of things that flash but aren't actually as important as you might think. But no, we'll see.
All right, let's get into these couple of guys that we're looking at. Let's start on the defensive side. We each have two. Drew, who's your first one?
So my first one's a first round guy, most likely. I don't think it's gonna be who you're picking. We'll see.
Okay.
It's a guy who didn't play at all this season. A guy by the name of Jamad McCoy. I think that's how you pronounce it. Jamad, something like that. McCoy, out of Tennessee. Had a fantastic year 2 years ago, but missed this season with injury. And so this will be, this is basically his only showcase for this, this year. And so I think a lot of teams are going to want to see, me included, being a corner needy team, I would say at least. How well has he returned from injury? And, again, like I said, this is the only time that teams will be able to see him be active, in the last 12 months. I don't know exactly when he got hurt.
It's been a minute.
But he missed the entire season. So this is probably one of the few cases where, like, we just spent a lot of time talking about how, like, the combine can be a little bit overrated, especially for some of these top end players, because they're already at the top. Some of the stuff can just be, it's just flashy. It's just, it's just in underwear, in your spandex, how good do you look? But for a guy like this who didn't play, it's important to see how that recovery has come. I don't know how fast, you can it'll be hard to tell since he didn't, get timed before his injury. But you can kind of see, has he lost a step maybe? How's the acceleration, anything like that? So I'm excited to see him again for the reasons I already stated. Like, this is the first time seeing him in action. And this is kind of all you have. It's going to be this and then his play from 2 seasons ago. So it's tough to take a player like that who's missed a season. It was different with like COVID year, and you had like Jamar Chase who sat out. That's completely different.
They weren't hurt.
Yeah. So seeing a player coming off injury, you need a little bit of reassurance that it's not going to be a mistake, you can still see, okay, they're still moving around, they're still flying around, they're still, testing well, still a great athlete. So this will be huge for him and huge for teams who are interested in taking him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this cornerback class a little bit because there's some. If he doesn't get hurt, maybe he's going ahead of Delane.
Based on the year that he had last year, he would be, and he might still be this year, but like he would be up for number one corner in the class. But with that injury history, now it's like
he could be in that conversation.
I think he's still two. It depends on whose board you're looking at. Yeah. I'm sure he's all over the place.
Well, think of the Raiders. Like, how many times have the Raiders taken a guy that not everybody, like, they took Henry Ruggs over, was it CD?
Over CD, over Judy.
Like, everybody's board's different. And that's also where these interviews come into play, where who interviews well with what team. If he interviews well, if he has a good combine, it's not an out-of-this-world possibility that he is the first cornerback taken.
Crazy. He goes over Waddle, by the way, not Judy, but sorry.
Well,
want to correct myself. It was Ruggs and Waddle coming out of Bama that year.
But wasn't Waddle a top 10 pick?
I thought Ruggs went before him.
Ruggs
was
12th overall. Let's look at the 2020 draft class. Player selections. Let's see. We had Burrow, Young. It was Henry Ruggs 12, Jerry Jeudy 15, CeeDee Lamb 17. Waddle would have been next year.
So I was right the first time with Jeudy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You overthought it.
Okay. Yeah, sorry to sidetrack you there.
That was good. Waddle was a 6th overall pick in 2021.
Okay.
So I'm the first player, also a first round draft pick for me, is Arvell Reese. Everybody wants to see, because his thing is he's an athletic freak. So I want to see that actually on display. If you're going to draft a player that you're projecting as an edge, he isn't an edge. He didn't really play that position in college. I want to see, if you're going based off of like he's an athletic freak, let's see that on display. That's my biggest concern with Arvell Reese, is he's going to get overdrafted because of these physical tools. Let's see it. Let's see how he does in the 40. Let's see his 3-comb. Let's see how he does in these other drills. And I'm also curious to see like which group he goes with, because I don't know which group he's going with. If he's going with linebackers, if he's working out with... Because that will also kind of tell us what his representation in the NFL is thinking during this draft process. Because if he's drafted as a linebacker, Cam said it, like Sonny Styles might be the better linebacker. So then you're drafting...
Yeah, I think Styles is guaranteed to be the better pure linebacker.
Right. And you're drafting...
Real quick, though, and his little sweatshirt, the Combine sweatshirt, says linebacker.
Which, I mean, they're projecting him to be Micah Parsons. That's the projection. What's he do at the Combine is going to help. All right, is he going to go 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or is he going to fall a little bit? Because everything with him is projection. And we got to see it on display here in Indy before we can. If we're going to continue having these conversations about the athletic freak that he is and what's he do in Indy. If he has a crap shoot, if he doesn't do well in Indy, which his agents would be awful if they knew he would do well and then they send him to Indy anyways. He's got to have a really good performance, a really good week in Indy to solidify himself as a legitimate top 3 pick in this draft, I would think, just because of the uncertainty with him. And everything is projection, which everything's projection on NFL players to begin with when you draft them. But you're moving him, ideally, if you're drafting him that high, you're moving him from linebacker to an edge, which he just hasn't had. So I got to
Yeah,
see
if
the
he's going to go
athletic
top
ability
five,
on him.
like he's being projected, at least by us, I would think probably
I
by
think
most
most.
people.
I think a lot of people have him like
Um,
going top 3 is what I've seen.
yeah, it's based on him being an edge. Like Sonny
And
Styles, I think is the best linebacker. And really, like for a pure off the ball linebacker, going anywhere from 7 to 10 is super high. Like
mhm,
top 5 for an off the ball linebacker, at least in this day and age, would be nuts.
yeah,
So you need him to play edge and rush the
you're
passer.
drafting him
And
that
so I
high.
think part of it, part of what he needs to do is as well is like he's going to test well. I imagine Sonny will also test well. So some of the measurements and things will be helpful, arm length, all that kind of stuff. But also, you know, will the interviews help? Like, how well does he
I'm very interested to
understand?
see how like what the rumors and the reporting is after the weekend and like did he interview well or he
Yeah,
bombed his interviews with the Titans and the Jets and the Browns and yada yada yada.
yeah. Does he understand how to play edge? I will say, listen, I'm not diminishing anything by saying this, but I would say defensive end from a like intelligence standpoint is not as hard as playing linebacker. I would say,
I would agree.
and so I would imagine if he can handle linebacker, he can handle the concepts of being a defensive end, right? Knowing how to control your gap, contain the edge, all that good stuff. Knowing how to do stunts and different concepts, things like that. And he would, depending on the type of defense that he goes to as well. Like he's probably a great candidate to have his hand in the dirt and then drop back in coverage. I don't think
Yeah.
he was great at being a coverage linebacker of any of any sort, but he's at least had experience doing it that he would probably be better than most defensive ends that have to do that, in their defense. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. I think he's going to test really well. I think we'll see if he tests better than Sonny. I think Sonny will also test really well as well. But I would be curious to see, if we were in those interviews,
Yeah.
what's being
And
asked of
especially
him.
with who has some of these top picks, the Jets, Aaron Glenn. How is he going to be with Aaron Glenn, a defensive minded guy? Robert Sala. Robert
Yep.
Sala loves his edge players. How is he going to interview with him? If you're falling to 7, how does he interview with the Commanders and Dan
Yep.
Quinn? Like, you, some of these top guys, their thing is defense. So you've got to interview well with those guys. I'm very interested to see like what comes out after the combine with Arvell Reese, and then of course what we watch on display.
Yep.
Do you want to do an offense or do you want to do the defense?
Let's just finish up the defensive side of the ball. My second is going to be probably day. We'll see. It could change depending on how the combine goes. Probably a day 3, early day 3 guy, and that is based on projections, right? As of time of recording, that is, I believe it's pronounced Nadame. Could be Nadame, but Nadame Tucker, edge out of Western Michigan. He had one of those. I forget if it was the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl. I think I talked about him before. One of those guys where you get into the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, whatever, and he was a top performer. Kind of put himself on display, showcase some potential there, and so I really want to see him stack that, build off of that with good testing, good measurements, and see what he can do for his draft stock. Because he's, like I said, and again, it's pre combine. He's probably projected maybe 4th or 5th round, I would imagine. And so, based on his combine, he has some more room to go. And me personally, like for some of these later round players, projecting is helpful because, at a Western Michigan, you're like, okay, like, what was the talent like that you were going against? You might have dominated some scrubs. Western Michigan's not bad. I mean, obviously the MAC, they're all still
Don't be
solid
hating on the
D1
MAC.
teams. I'm not, but I'm just saying,
No,
at
for
a
the
MAC
listeners-
school, you need to, there's going to be that question.
And how
obviously,
did you play against whenever you
Right.
did play against a better competition?
and so him having a good year at Western Michigan and then going to, I'm just going to say the Shrine Bowl, and then, building on that with the Combine is going to help alleviate some of that, like, worriedness that teams may have of being at a small school. And, like we see with Toledo, they're putting out great players in the first round. Like, not that MAC schools don't have great players. They definitely do. I think he can be
I
one
like
of them.
Toledo.
And later, kind of a somber note. But replacing for the Cowboys, Marshawn Nealand, who also came out of Western Michigan. You almost have that kind of, like, I don't think they have any ties necessarily, but, like, it's just kind of cool to see another guy come up out of Western Michigan and kind of get his chance. And it could be with the Cowboys as well. So I'm interested in him to see what he can do and if he can be a valuable, day 3 pick, or maybe if he tests well, it could be day 2. But
I'm going to stick in the MAC. Shocker! Caleb Gill is picking a MAC
yes,
player.
it's a rocket.
Adore. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who a couple months ago I was like, he'd probably be it'll be a steal in the second, third round. And we've gotten to Indy and it's like, ooh, he could go first round. So I really want to see how he tests, see, like, all right, how high does his stock rise? Kind of like Quinyon Mitchell a couple years ago. The trajectory kind of reminds me of that same thing where he comes out of Toledo, very solid player. He's an aggressive player. He's going to fill the gaps. He's going to go downhill, and he's going to knock your head off. But there's some, over aggressiveness. So how is he in those interviews? I'm curious to see how he does in some of those DB drills as well, and see just how high can his stock rise. Because again, like I said, a couple months ago, it's like he could be a second or third round steal, and he could still fall in the second. But if he goes day 2, he's not lasting very long day 2. I'm very interested to see how he does, because he's one of those players, if he has a bad combine, he's going to hurt his stock. Like, the combine is either going to help him a little bit or hurt him a lot. So, knock on wood, he has a good combine, doesn't hurt him a lot. And helps him that little bit. I would love to see him have a Quinyon Mitchell, Quinyon Mobe type draft season. And it's one of those that this is that next step. More eyes are going to be on this than his pro day. That's the other thing too. Like, a lot of these players are going to, like quarterbacks in particular, they wait till the pro day to throw just because that's where they're comfortable with. There's going to be more eyes there. There's not going to be as many eyes at Toledo. So him performing at the combine is going to either help or hurt his draft stock a lot. So Emmanuel McNeil Warren, I'm definitely watching you this weekend.
Yeah. And, I've seen a lot of people with safeties in general. People are speculating we could see quite a few first-round safeties.
Which is weird because that's one of those positions that, the term fungible gets thrown around a lot here. And
yeah, it's just a weird spot with value. We discussed
Everybody
this when
talks
we
about
talked
value.
about, I think it was during the mock draft that we did. Go back and watch if you haven't.
Yep.
We talked about the value of where to take Caleb Downs and how much they get paid relative to the rest of the league and the highest paid at that position. And safety is one of those where, like, if you draft, once you get towards the end of the first round, it doesn't really matter as much. But top of the draft, you're already putting them in top of the position money, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And where that could be better well spent on a position where, like an edge, you might have to pay them 30, if you get a really good one, $40 million a year. but you can draft this guy for 12. So but we'll see. With safety, like you were getting at, it's not normally seen as a high value position. But some of the best players, and we'll see at the combine if this is true, but some of the best players, some of the best athletes in this draft class are at the safety position. So we'll see.
And speaking of safeties, the Jets at number 2 overall, most people would call them insane if they drafted Caleb Downs number 2 overall. It's not going to happen. But I'll tell you what, if the Jets decide we love Caleb Downs, smart, intelligent player, can really rectify that back end and do what the Seahawks safety Imanwari, what he did for the Seahawks defense. If you feel Caleb Downs can do that for you on your defense and you draft him number 2 overall, you will not have me sit here complaining about that. And even if you don't take Caleb Downs, if McNeil Warren, which this has happened in a couple of my mock drafts, where he falls out of the first round, you scoop him there at 33. This is a good. I like the safeties in this class a lot. So I'm curious to see where McNeil Warren falls in the pecking order when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I do as well. And one thing that one of the other podcasts I listen to all the time says is it only takes one team, obviously, because only one team is going to draft him. It only takes one team to think he's, the worth the 18th pick. That's the Vikings. I don't think they're taking him, but
That'd be funny.
For whatever reason, that's the number that came to mind. It takes one team to say, we're okay with the value as far as dollar-wise. We think this player is good enough, is great enough to be drafted, with our pick. We're taking him. We don't, we're not worried about what people are going to think about the value at our pick. We love him. We're taking him. It's done. We got ourselves a great player.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
When it comes contract negotiation time, when you get to the end of his rookie contract and you're talking about a new deal, if he's a guy that's worthy of a new deal, by then you will not care where you drafted him. And did it matter, or positional value? If he is as good of a player as you think he's going to be, it's not going to matter. Like the Lions, when they drafted Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, I gave him a lot of crap for it.
They give Brian Branch in the same one? Or was that later?
I think that might have been the same one. Because I remember that one. It's the Lions draft looked good if you ignored where those players were taken. Their first 4 picks were pretty good players. It was just where they were taken. I want to say Branch might have been. It was a DB, I believe. I believe it was Branch.
I think it was Gibbs, Campbell, Branch. And it was if you just swapped Branch and Campbell or whatever it was, that's a fantastic draft. So yeah, at the end of the day, now sitting here however many years removed, it doesn't matter that they took Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 and Campbell at whatever other pick and Branch at whatever other pick. That's all irrelevant. All 3 of them have been great players for the Lions and have made them a contender.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
So who cares what position they took them, what round they took them? They found and identified 3 players that they thought were going to make them a better team, and they nailed it.
So here was their 4 picks, okay, that year, 2023. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12th overall. Jack Campbell, 18th overall. Sam Laporta, second round, 34 overall. And then Brian Branch, 45th overall. So that's why you swap out their second-round picks with first-round picks at the time. It's nobody cares. You just reverse those. And now we're looking.
If you pick good players, no one's going to care.
Nope. They only care when in the moment, and then if they turn out to be bad, then it's then you have.
Exactly. If they're bad, then it's, obviously, duh. And then once they're good, it doesn't really matter.
Once they're bad, it's wait, why did you take safety Jamal Adams over... No, who would that have been? Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. It's kind of drafting any high offensive lineman Like at the time, you're like, oh, why'd you take him so early?
See,
Like
I don't
for
mind
me,
drafting
Zach
offensive linemen.
Martin. Zach Martin comes to mind. Like, why'd you draft him so early? Like, probably could have waited. It's just a guard. And then he turns
You
out
could
to
have had
be
Johnny
one of the best
Manziel.
guards of all time. You could have had Johnny Football, but you drafted some guard out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oh, he just became one of the best guards of all time. Oh, okay. We don't really care where you took him.
You guys had I remember you guys' drafts at those couple of years. It was like Travis Frederick, Zach Martin. I mean, you guys had it built.
Tyron Smith
I want
would
to
have
say
been
Tyron
first.
Smith was somewhere in there. It was stout, but that's why as much as Brock Bowers would have been fun, I'm not upset that they just took Olu Fashanu, or last year taking Membu. These picks would have been fun, but I don't hate drafting offensive line. You could take a tackle first overall. I couldn't give it a rip as long as they're good.
I mean, it's happened. It's happened.
Yeah.
Why don't we flip on to the offensive side of the ball here? My first one, Dylan spoiled it for you, Gil, but for the listeners who aren't in the chat, my first player to watch on the offensive side of the ball is Drew Aller, quarterback out of Penn State. Again, we kind of talked about the quarterbacks and what they can and can't do to improve their stock, but I think all that we're kind of left with for Aller is projection. And again, we're kind of saying that about a lot of people. But I think Aller has the build and some of the tools of a good NFL quarterback. The problem is we didn't see that on the field. So, a tiny issue there where he wasn't really that good of a player.
He looked like one, but he did not play like one.
He's built like one. He's shown flashes of it, but he has not put anywhere close to a complete season of it together.
No, and it's been
so
he was one of those guys coming out of high school. It's like he's built like an NFL quarterback already. So the expectation's been there since he was a true freshman.
Yeah.
And he hasn't lived up to it.
I mean, it's possible that James Franklin maybe wasn't the best quarterback developer.
Yeah.
I mean, Penn State hasn't exactly been a quarterback factory. In fact, the best quarterback to come out of Penn State left to go to Kentucky, Will Levis. Yeah. So it's possible that, and I think kind of where he's landed himself in this draft, like going into the season, it was like, oh, he's going to be a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like he might be a fourth, fifth-round pick. And I think at that kind of value in the later rounds, it is definitely worth a chance to take on him and his build and his tools and see if the NFL coaching, whatever team it is, can get something from him. And if you're a team who already has a starting quarterback, then he can just sit and learn for a while and see if he ever turns into something fantastic. If he doesn't, whatever. It was a fifth, fourth round pick.
Right.
But I think in the combine and in the interviews, that's like we talked about before, he can have, maybe he bumps his stock up, around where a team comes around like, hey, we think we can get something out of this guy. Let's make sure we get him. Let's take him in the fourth, or let's take him in the third, something like that. So obviously he's not going to be a first, second round quarterback, but could he sneak into third, fourth, or does he stay fifth or even later? We'll see what happens. But, I think he's going to look pretty good slinging the ball in shorts against air. If you look bad in that situation, that's a tough look. But yeah, well, I'm excited to see what he does. I imagine he'll throw pretty well, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he's recovering from his injury.
That's
a big one for me. Is how is he recovering, and what all does he do? Because he is throwing, right? That's confirmed.
I believe so. Yeah.
So that'd be huge. And how is his motion? How is his form looking? Because when you get hurt, everything just kind of goes out of whack. And he could. I don't see it with him just because I don't care the physical tools you have. You could be great from the shoulders down, but the NFL and playing quarterback is the shoulders up. Like, cool. You look and you're built like a NFL quarterback prototype, but
Yes,
it doesn't always.
He will be throwing though. Confirmed yesterday.
Sick. So that'll be fun. He's going to have some good throws, and everybody's going to be talking. There's going to be rumors. I'm calling this one right now. We are going to, a week from now, there's going to be rumors. Drew Aller, could he make it into the second round?
I can see that.
It's not going to happen, but we're going to hear that. If he has a good combine, we're going to hear how high can Drew Aller go, because everyone's going to forget about how he looked before his injury.
Yep.
I remember watching him at Ohio. He played. I went to an Ohio State Penn State game 2 years ago, and I watched him live. And I went to that game thinking like this could be fun. Drew Aller could be a good game against Ohio State, and he looked like dog shit.
Yep.
And since then, I've just been like, I'm not impressed. He hasn't done anything to impress me.
He's had flashes, like I mentioned, but for whatever reason, in big games specifically, he just completely collapses and looks awful.
It's kind of a big
and I
deal
think that'll be interesting for the coaches to kind of press into, we see them, do quizzes and different timed reaction things. Like how are they going to challenge him mentally in the combine and interview process to see why is he making these mistakes? Is it something he was coached on?
I'm curious how much he throws his coaches under the bus. Because if he's throwing them under the bus a lot, then it's like, I get it, but also you got to take responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you will. I'm just curious. I genuinely curious.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious how he does. Obviously, we won't get to see it, but that's what I would want to see is test okay, what's going on here? Why are you making these terrible decisions?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What's the mental block? And maybe it's just a motion thing. Like Josh Allen, he had terrible form. Yep. So maybe it's a form thing and somebody takes a flyer on him, like you said, in the 4th, 5th round, and you get the right quarterback coach in there. Again, I think a Sean McVay could be interesting to see. If he likes Drew Aller, can he fix him up and tweak him a little bit?
Yeah.
Would be interesting.
I would love to take him and have him sit behind Dak for a while. You
guys got Joe Milton.
We have Joe Milton. That's it. We have Joe Milton. He was something.
He's a quarterback. He is on the team.
He's a quarterback on the team.
He does have a jersey and a uniform.
Yes.
I'm staying with the same position. Guy I'm watching is Garrett Nussmeier. He's another guy that could throw his his head coach under the bus. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. This is Garrett Nussmeier, again, like Drew Aller, went in the season with could he be a 1st-round pick? And also like Drew Aller, him and Drew Aller had very similar seasons, but Nussmeier just played the entire year. Where they came in with all the hype, and then very quickly that hype vanished. Like a fart in the wind. Poof, gone. So I'm curious to see, because his stock's rising a little bit from the Senior Bowl. He's gotten some good publicity. I'm curious to see how he throws. That's a big one. How does he throw at the Senior Bowl? If he misses some throws, it's not great luck. Because this is a guy that he genuinely could go 2nd round, is what it feels like. I don't think he will, but he could. And there's going to be rumors, how there's going to be rumors about Drew Aller and his stock. There's going to be rumors of could Garrett Nussmeier go before Ty Simpson? Which, honestly, I wouldn't be mad. I like Nuss a little bit more than Ty. You heard it here. I like him more than Ty. Especially with where they're probably going to go. I am curious.
That's a good one. And in a podcast I was listening to today, I forget who it was. One of your common, draft folks, they're on doing their mock drafts and whatnot. They mentioned that they think that Nussmeier, out of these quarterbacks, probably excluding Mendoza, they think that in 5 years from now, he's probably the most likely to still be in the league.
I've heard
He said he could see everyone else, kind of flaming out, and he would be the most surprised if Nussmeier was out of the league in 5 years.
There's a lot of
out
people
of
that
these
think
later round.
Brian Kelly had a lot to do with Nuss and his.
So we'll see again. That'll be part of the interviews and the testing and stuff like that. But we'll see. I mean, and you mentioned real quick Ty Simpson. We'll see what happens with him too. He's barely played.
That's the thing that bothers me so much.
Thing with him.
He hasn't. I knew. So we went back and forth in the chat for about a month or so. Like, should Ty Simpson declare? And every time that conversation came up, I'm over here like, he's going to. He is going to declare, just because of the numbers battle. If he were to stay in college, he's not a first round draft pick next year, just because of the quantity.
He got better,
maybe, but also you're thinking everybody else is going to get back. Dante Moore is going to be in next year's class. Arch Manning, a lot of people are high on, even though I don't know how I feel about that one. Ty Simpson, this was his best chance to be a first round draft pick, if that's what he wanted to be. I always thought that was going to be stupid as well. Like, I had a really good feeling that he was going to declare, but it was also going to be a bad thing that he did declare, just because he's not ready. He does make some good throws. I'll give him that. He's not an awful quarterback. He's not the worst quarterback prospect you've ever seen. You just haven't seen enough. Like you said. His lack of games, his lack of start.
I also don't think
problem.
The thing with him as well is he hasn't played that much. But I also don't think that even if he developed at like the best possible rate and achieved the best possible outcome in his, whatever you want to call that, range of outcomes, I don't think that he has the tools to be like some elite quarterback prospect. Kind of similar to Mendoza. Like, I personally don't think Mendoza's elite.
Anybody in this class is going to be elite.
But Mendoza is already close to, like, he's getting comped to golf a lot, so I'll just stick with that. But, like, Mendoza has already been close, and he stayed at a high level through high and tough competition through the national championship. Whereas Ty Simpson was on a downward trajectory. What you want to see is, what we've seen with quarterbacks who have been successful recently is a lot of starts, like 20 starts ideally or more. And you want to see their most recent year is their best year, obviously, right? And Ty Simpson, I think it's less than 15 starts, maybe it's 15. And it was a downward trajectory. So I'm scared of Ty Simpson, and I think let me look something up real quick
while you look that up, I'm going to go over one thing that I try following a lot with quarterbacks is the Bill Parcells rules for drafting quarterbacks, and I think they matter, especially some of these. Like, be a senior in college probably doesn't matter as much because a lot of them are still getting their years of starting. He wanted them to be graduates. Obviously, if they're a senior in college. I don't think those ones necessarily apply. But start at least 3 years. Because, again, you want that experience. You don't want a guy with only 12, 15 starts, whatever it is for Ty Simpson. He is still learning how to play the position. He doesn't have enough playing time. So you get him to the NFL, and it's kind of do you play him or do you start him? I mean, do you start him or do you bench him and let him sit? Because he needs the reps, but also he needs to learn. As much as he needs those reps. Trey Lance, he was another one that barely had any starts.
He's like historically low though. Like,
he started like
insane.
Trey Lance was one that you were drafting all projection.
Yes.
Because it was out of North Dakota State. he didn't play the 1 year because of COVID, and the FCS was going to play in March, and yeah. So a couple of
And then
these
he
other
played
ones,
like a shortened season or something like that.
it was weird. I don't think Lance played his COVID year. I think he sat out because
And I
they
don't
were
even
gonna
think he
play.
played a lot in high school, at least at quarterback.
Probably not.
Like I forget exactly what it is now. It's been a little while, but it's like an insane amount of snaps how few snaps he had going into the NFL. Obviously, the more the better.
The other Parcell rules are win at least 23 games because you got to win. Post at least a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio because protect the ball. Complete at least 60% of passes. Accuracy was a non-negotiable, and no major red flags off the field. So he wanted them to be team captains. Like the Bill Parcells rule for drafting quarterbacks is something I try following. Doesn't always work that way. Ty Simpson doesn't fit any of that.
No. But even like without the Bill Parcells, like just the quarterbacks that we've seen be successful so far in the last couple of drafts, you're getting guys that have started a couple of years, and have been fairly successful. But I think Ty Simpson, we talked about this in the mock draft. Go check it out if you haven't already. I think Ty Simpson, my bold prediction, Ty Simpson will go closer to pick 96 than pick number 1.
Okay.
So that is the last pick in the 3rd round.
Okay. See, I'm not mad about that.
Closer to that than first round.
Here's so the last couple of years, I make like somewhat bold quarterback predictions. Like the 1 year, I said 5 quarterbacks go in the first 10 picks. Nailed that, by the way. Not to toot my own horn, but
it's true.
Last year I said 2. I think I said 2. Because I was like right, but I was like wrong on like Shador and Jackson Dart. This year I'm torn because Ty Simpson obviously got told that he's going to be a first round draft pick, but I don't know where he gets drafted. Like who's coming up for Ty Simpson? And I pray to God that Jets don't use a 16th overall pick on him because that's going to be a waste of a first round draft pick for any team. He's going to get somebody fired. And you look at some of the guys that didn't have many starts. So, like Mitch Trubisky. I keep thinking Mitch Trubisky in my head for Ty Simpson. He was a guy that didn't play a lot of games, didn't have many starts, and by the way, sat behind a quarterback. Sometimes it's not always your fault that you sit and you can't beat somebody out in college. But there is a little, like, something to that where he couldn't beat out. I don't remember who the quarterback was, but he got drafted late. And then Mitch Trubisky comes in, starts for a year, and then declares. Ty Simpson. Yeah, Jalen Milroe was fine at first, but he also was just a 4th-round draft pick. He couldn't beat him out. Now, 1 year start. You mentioned the trajectory. Like, he started off fine, and then, like, October hit, and then he had the one good game against Oklahoma in the playoffs, and then a bad game where they claimed an injury, which he did get hurt, but also he was bad before he got hurt against the national champions.
Real quick, Jalen Milroe is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So
This is true. Him and Kenny Pickett.
Real quick though, something interesting while I was looking up something. In the last, I'm seeing this, and take this with a grain of salt. I did a quick Google search, and this is coming from Reddit, so probably not super trustworthy, but it says, in the last 50 years, only twice has a quarterback been drafted number 1 overall and been the only quarterback taken in the first round.
Number 1 overall and only quarterback taken in the first round.
Only quarterback taken in the first round. The last time only one quarterback was taken in the first round was 2022 with Kenny Pickett, and then 2013
EJ Manuel.
EJ Manuel.
I remember those two, but who were the number 1 overall picks? Wait, let me think. Were there any in our lifetime? You said first round, only first round quarterback.
Well, was this before expansion? It must be. Okay, I have the answers then, but.
Were they before our lifetime or after?
That one doesn't. Oh, I guess it's 2001. One was during, and I just gave you the year.
It was
Well,
2000.
when were you born? 2000?
2000.
I should know this. Was it the Browns couch? No, he was like 99. It's not like Garcia.
And these must have been pre-expansion because of when the second pick happened.
All right, what do you mean?
So let me just give you 2001.
Okay.
It was Michael Vick. Michael Vick went
Duh.
to Atlanta. But it and again, this is Reddit here. All right, so let's take it with a grain of salt. It says Drew Brees went pick 32.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying.
So at the time, and again, I don't, because I think when was was it the Texans or the Jags? Most
Texans.
recent. So that must have been that would have been probably the first pick of the second round.
Houston Texans. Yeah, their first.
They were pretty recent. Were they like 05 or something?
They were founded in 99, but David Carr was their first pick. Their inaugural season was 2002. Inaugural. Okay. So the next year would have been 32.
Okay. And then the other one, do you have a guess of who that is?
Hall
of Fame quarterback, by the way.
Is it like NFL, AFL? Like how old? Give me a time frame. Like don't give it away, but
this is recent enough. It's post 1980. I'll say.
I'm trying to think, is it like
definitely an era that we are familiar with enough? It's
not like Vinny Testaverde, is it?
No.
Drew Bledsoe?
Hall of Fame.
Oh,
quarterback.
Aikman?
Yep. It was Aikman, and then Mike Elkins, pick 32 to Kansas City.
Everybody likes taking these quarterbacks with a 32nd overall pick.
I guess, which is funny because of how
it's funny
it works
that
today.
Happened, like the 2 years that happened, that the first quarterback, like the first overall pick was a quarterback, and then nobody else was taken in the first round. The 32nd pick in both those drafts was quarterback.
Yeah. All right. I don't know what was going on with that, but that's at least interesting. But
the chances are quarterback's going to be taken. I'm just going to bitch about it. All right, we each have one more offensive player left.
Yes. I think, and Gill and I were talking about this before, I was going to say Kalen Black out of Indiana, but he was not invited to the combine. And so I will say, I believe the other, let me look real quick. The other Indiana running back is Roman Hemby, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see those guys. Obviously, I'm only going to see one, but pro day will roll around eventually. But I'm interested to see Roman Hemby. I'm interested in quite a few of the running backs, especially some of these later round guys, because for the Cowboys at least, and again, I'm interested in a lot of players at the combine, of course. But I spend most of my time. I spend most of my time focusing on players that I think the Cowboys could or maybe should draft, in my opinion. And running back, especially in the later rounds, is one of those where I'm interested to see, who's going to be out there, especially with like bringing back Javonte Williams. I want to now see who's got some juice, who's got some speed, because Javonte is definitely on the power back side of things. So I want to see, and with Jaden Blue not really being able to get on the field, we'll see what happens with him. But I would like to try and get someone with a little bit of juice. I don't know if Hemby's that guy or Black's that guy or who that's going to be. I'm just sticking with Hemby for now because, Indiana was obviously a good team. Watched the national championship. They had some decent runs in there. So I want to see how he does at the combine, but overall, I'm looking at these running backs to see who might have a little bit of pop. But in kind of some of these later rounds, it's definitely not last year for the running back position. Last year was loaded with you had Cam Scattaboo going in the 4th round. We're not going to see that this year, so it's going to thin out pretty quickly. So I want to see maybe they don't look like the greatest running back of all time, but who shows a little bit of spark.
Yeah. You don't have to be the greatest. I am going to stick with the same position. It's kind of weird how we're like same position, different guys.
Yes.
Let me interest you in a Robert Henry Jr. out of UTSA.
Okay.
He
can interest me.
He's a little power backish, but he's got home run threat. So what I'm looking forward to seeing is his 40-yard time, actually. Because I am curious what his straight line speed is. Because he's not he shows the quickness on the field. He's got some good juice and wiggle. But he comes off more power back. Let me see his size for Robert Henry. But that's a guy I'm looking forward to seeing just because I want to see how he is in some of those athletic type drills. He is 5'9", so a small guy, 205.
Okay.
So a little bulky, a little shorter, but he's got home run threat.
You don't really want a tall running back.
No, they don't have to be tall unless you're Derrick Henry.
Like most tall running backs aren't that good unless you're Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's kind of the exception to the rule. I am interested to see how he performs just because, again, speed isn't really what he looks like, but he does have home run threat. So let's see how he performs at the combine and if he can improve his stock as well.
Yeah.
Also,
I think, a little partial. We talked about 40 being a little bit overrated, but I do still think it's important for running backs and wide receivers, I
don't care if you run the fastest 40, but I also care if you're slow as hell.
Yes.
Like, if you get out there and you're essentially jogging, and it's like, all right, he's either not giving it an effort, which is bad, or he's just slow, which is also bad. I do want to see for some of these, running backs, I do want to see, good 40 times. I'm not looking for the fastest. I'm looking for good. I'm looking to see how...
You got to be competitive.
You got to be fast.
You got to be close to, some of your fellow classmates in the draft. Yeah. Because every year we talk about, the athlete score, the RAS scores, sometimes being, a super freak can influence you too much.
Yeah.
But being a non-athlete compared to the rest of these guys, being a poor athlete is also, that is a bad sign, right? Most of the time, sure, there's probably players in the league that had terrible RAS scores that are good players now. But I would be willing to bet that 9 times out of 10, if you have what's considered a bad RAS score, you are not going to turn out to be a good player. So the 40 is not the end all be all, but putting up a good time at least just solidifies your case that you can play in the league.
You got to be competitive, and so I think that's a wrap.
Cool.
I think
excited to watch. It is still it's fun to watch. Yeah. We'll see how much of it I get to watch, but
I know, stupid work.
Yeah, what the heck?
I know.
Sorry, someday PCS at the combine. Someday.
Yes, help us reach that goal, everybody. Let everybody know that you know that sports as much as we do. To follow, subscribe to the channel. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to put out content. So let us know what you want to see. As you've probably already picked up on, a lot of what we're going to have over the next month and a half, 2 months, is going to be draft related. We do have some Fix the Franchise episodes up. Drew and I have each done one for the Cardinals and Bears. Dylan's supposed to get one up at some point whenever his bum ass gets around to it. So we'll see when that goes up. I'd also imagine our individual teams will get something up before the start of free agency as well. So Jets, Cowboys, Steelers, maybe Vikings. So we will not just only have draft content, but it's going to be a lot of draft content. So if you like that, check us out at Party Chat Sports, anywhere and everywhere. All at Party Chat Sports. So until next time, have a fun combine week. Peace.
See ya.